Shagufta still remembered the day her fourth daughter was born. The hospital room smelled of antiseptic and quiet prayers. Her body was weak, her hands trembling, but her heart was full. She smiled when the nurse placed the baby in her arms, tiny fingers, soft breath, innocent eyes. Another life, another blessing. But outside the room, her husband Nadim did not smile. When the doctor spoke the words, "It's a girl," Nadim's face hardened. He didn't enter the room. He didn't ask about Shagufta's health. He didn't even look at the child. "This woman has ruined my life," he muttered to his mother. "For daughters." Not even one son. Shagufta's life after that day changed completely. Nadim stopped speaking to her kindly. He stopped eating with the family. He stopped looking at his daughters. To him, they were not children. They were mistakes. When the girls laughed, he shouted. When they cried, he ignored. When they asked for school fees, he complained. "Why should I waste money on girls?" he said. "They will leave this house anyway." Shagufta tried to reason with him. "They are our blood," she said softly. "They are innocent." Nadim laughed cruelly. "Innocent? They are a curse." The worst pain wasn't the insults behind closed doors. It was the public shame at family gatherings. Nadim mocked her. "She doesn't know how to give birth properly," he told relatives. 4 times still, no son. People laughed uncomfortably. Some women looked away. No one defended her. Shagufta sat silently, her hands clenched in her lap, swallowing her tears. That night she cried alone, not for herself, but for her daughters. One evening, Nadim came home drunk. He threw a paper on the floor. "Sign this," he said coldly. Shagufta picked it up with shaking hands. "Divorce papers. You're divorcing me. Because of daughters." She whispered. "Yes," he replied without shame. "I deserve a son. Not this burden." She looked at her sleeping girls, for small bodies breathing peacefully, unaware their world was about to shatter. "Where will we go?" she asked. "That's not my problem," Nadim said. "You and your daughters can beg if you want." The next morning, Shagufta and her daughters were sent away with a small bag of clothes and nothing else. No money. No support. No apology. The door closed behind them. Her eldest daughter, barely 8 years old, asked softly, "Ammi, did we do something wrong?" Shagufta knelt down, holding all 4 of them tightly. "No," she said, tears streaming down her face. "You did nothing wrong." But inside her heart, something broke, and something else was born that night. In a small rented room, Shagufta stared at the ceiling. She had been a quiet wife, an obedient daughter-in-law, a patient woman, and look where it brought her. She wiped her tears and looked at her daughters sleeping beside her. "I will not let this world crush you," she whispered. "I will make him regret every word, every insult, every cruelty." This was not the end. This was the beginning of revenge. The morning sun entered the small rented room, but it brought no warmth. Shagufta woke up before her daughters. Her body ached, her heart heavier than ever. For the first time in her life, there was no husband to depend on, no home to return to, no safety net beneath her feet, only responsibility. She looked at her daughters, sleeping on the thin mattress for innocent faces, unaware of how cruel the world could be. "Allah," she whispered, "give me strength. I cannot fall. Not now." Life outside was harsher than Shagufta imagined. Relatives who once ate at her table now avoided her. Some spoke kindly to her face, but poisoned her reputation behind her back. She couldn't keep her husband happy. 4 daughters. Obviously, he left. She must have some fault. Even women blamed her. No one blamed the man. Shagufta learned quickly that a divorced woman with daughters is an easy target. Money ran out fast. The little savings she had were barely enough for food. School fees became a nightmare. Some nights, Shagufta pretended she wasn't hungry so her daughters could eat. Her youngest once asked innocently, "Ammi, why don't you eat?" Shagufta smiled. "I already ate, Jan." But her empty stomach knew the truth. She searched desperately for work. Some places rejected her because she had children. Some because she was divorced. Some because she was too emotional. One man looked at her and said, "You should go back to your husband. Women like you can't survive alone." That night, Shagufta cried silently but not in defeat and anger. Finally, she found work as a cleaner in a private school. The pay was low. The work was exhausting. But it was honest. She cleaned classrooms where rich children studied, including boys whose fathers bragged about their sons who never lifted a finger as she scrubbed floors. She watched teachers explain lessons. She listened. She learned her mind was sharp. Her spirit was wounded but alive. Shagufta refused to let her daughters feel weak. "You will study," she told them firmly. "You will stand on your own feet. You will never beg anyone." The girls studied under dim lights, sharing books, helping each other. They were brilliant, hungry for knowledge, hungry for dignity. One day, Shagufta received news. Nadim had remarried a young woman. No children yet. People whispered, "Now he will finally get a son." The words burned her heart, but she did not cry. Instead, something inside her hardened. Revenge didn't come to Shagufta as rage. It came as clarity. She realized something powerful. Nadim had left her because he thought she was nothing without him. Because he believed daughters were worthless. Because he trusted society would crush her. He was wrong. She didn't want to destroy him with violence. She wanted something stronger. She wanted to rise, so high that his regret would choke him. That night, she made a promise again, this time louder. "My daughters will become what you never imagined," she said. "And one day, you will bow your head in shame." The war had begun, not with screams, but with patience, sacrifice, and silent strength. Years passed, not softly but fiercely. Time tested Shagufta in every way possible. There were days she thought she would collapse under the weight of responsibility, and nights when sleep refused to come. But every morning she stood up again, not because she was fearless, but because her daughters needed her. Pain had turned her into steel. Working in the school changed Shagufta in ways she never expected. She learned the system. She understood education. She saw opportunity where others saw only limits. One teacher noticed her intelligence and kindness. "Why don't you study?" she asked one day. Shagufta laughed bitterly. "At my age, with 4 daughters." The teacher smiled. "Age and pain don't define intelligence." That night, Shagufta filled out a form. She enrolled in adult education. Her days became brutal. Cleaning at school in the morning, studying at night, teaching her daughters in between. Sometimes exhaustion made her hands shake. Sometimes doubt crept into her heart. But then she remembered Nadim's voice. 4 daughters are a curse. And she studied harder. The girls grew not just in age, but in confidence. The eldest won academic competitions. The second discovered her talent in science. The third excelled in debates. The youngest, once quiet, became fearless. Teachers spoke their names with pride. People began to notice. These girls are different. They said yes. They were raised by a woman who refused to surrender. One day, Shagufta received a letter. She had passed her exams with distinction. Soon after, she was offered a job, not as a cleaner, but as an assistant teacher. The salary wasn't huge, but the respect was priceless. For the first time since her divorce, she walked into a room where people stood up for her. She cried that night, not from sadness, but from vindication. News traveled fast. Nadem. Single quotes: "A second marriage was failing. No son yet. No peace at home." The same people who once mocked Shagufta now whispered, maybe the problem was never her. His business started suffering. His reputation cracked. He heard stories about his daughters, his abandoned daughters. Top students. Brilliant minds. Confident girls. The knowledge burned him. One evening, Shagufta received a call. It was Nadim's mother. "Come," she said stiffly. "There's a family gathering." Shagufta hesitated. Then she looked at her daughters, strong, educated, unafraid. She smiled. Yes, she replied. I will come. They arrived dressed simply but with dignity. The room fell. Silent, people stared. This wasn't the broken woman they remembered. This was a mother who carried strength in her, posture and fire in her eyes. Nadim couldn't look at her. And when his gaze fell on the girls, he saw something terrifying. Success. Shaguft felt no anger, only calm. She knew now. Her revenge was no longer a dream. It was already unfolding, and the final blow was yet to come. The family gathering was filled with forced smiles and hollow greetings. Shagufta sat calmly, her daughters beside her, 4 young women who carried confidence like a crown. They were not dressed in luxury, but in self-respect. Every movement reflected years of struggle shaped into grace. Nadim watched them from across the room. His chest felt tight. These were the daughters he had called a curse. An elder relative spoke, unaware of the emotional landmines. So, Shagufta, he said casually, how did you manage all this alone? The room quieted. Shagufta stood. Her voice did not shake. I managed because I had no choice, she said. I managed because my daughters were worth fighting for. Her eyes met Nadim's, and because the man who abandoned us believed daughters were useless. Sharp silence cut through the air. The eldest daughter stepped forward. We grew up without a father, she said calmly, but we grew up with dignity. The second added, our mother taught us that our worth doesn't depend on gender. The third smiled softly. We are not a curse. We are proof. The youngest finished, and we don't need apologies. We needed support, and we created our own. People stared. Some lowered their eyes, some wiped tears. Nadim stood. Abruptly, his voice cracked. I was wrong. 2 words, but they came too late. I thought a son would bring me honor, he said, almost pleading. But I lost my honor the day I walked away. Shagufta listened quietly. She felt nothing, no rage, no joy. Only peace. She spoke one last time. I did not raise my daughters to take revenge, she said. I raised them to rise. She turned toward him. You didn't lose us because we were daughters. You lost us because you were weak. That was the end. No shouting. No forgiveness asked. No doors slammed. Just truth undeniable and permanent. Shagufta and her daughters left the gathering together, heads held high. They built a life rooted in education, independence, and respect. Years later, people spoke of them with admiration. The daughters he rejected became his greatest shame. A man who hates daughters creates his own destruction. A woman who believes in her daughters creates a legacy. Shagufta didn't destroy her husband. She outgrew him. And that was the strongest revenge of all.